Well, hello, welcome again to a reading of 1 Timothy, and I got up to chapter 6. Hosoi esin hupatsugon douloi tus idius despotas passas times axius he geis thosan, hiname to onoma tu theou kai he didaskalia blasphemetai. So as many as are servants under the yoke, or slaves, in fact, douloi. So this is an imperative, third person plural imperative from hageomai, in the sense of to regard. So let them regard their own masters and then as worthy of all honour. Hina, in order that not, so in other words, lest the name of God and the didaskalia, it keeps using this abstract noun, the teaching, be blasphemed. That's a subjunctive passive here. Perhaps be ill spoken of. Hoi de pistus ekontes despotas me kataphronetosan, hoti adelphoi esin. And those, that is those slaves, having, now pistus here, not faithful but believing, I think, have masters who are believers. Let them not despise them. So those who have masters who are believers, let them not despise them, from kataphronio, because they are brothers. Alamalon delu etosan, but let them serve them, let them be enslaved to them all the more. Hoti pistoi esin kai agapetoi hoites eu ergesias antilabonominoi. Now the subject here is this last section here, and it's those benefiting from the service, understand, of the slave. They are faithful and beloved. So those benefiting from the service of the slave are understood, are believers rather than faithful, are believers and beloved ones. Now some of the modern translations, the NIV in particular, is very misleading. They obviously don't like what it says, and they translate it as they are devoted to the servants of the slave, service of the slave, which is not what the Greek says, and doesn't make a lot of sense in the context. So I will translate this, as I said, so because those who are benefiting from the good service of the slave, who is supposed to enslave themselves all the more, they are believers and beloved ones. Tauta didaske kai parakale, so teach these things and give exhortation. Atis hetera didaskale kai me proserkatai hugi ainu sin logois. Tois tu kuriou hemon Jesu Christu kai te katusebean didaskalia tetuphotai medin epistaminos ala noson peritseteses kai logomachias exhern ginotai thonos, and we get a list here: eris blasphemiae, hupanoiae, ponerai, dia paratribai, dia phthamenon anthropon ton nun, kai apesteremenon tes aletheas, nomis donton porismon anai ten eusebean. Very long sentence. So if someone teaches differently, so is heterodox, so teaches a different thing, and kaime pros erkatai. This is a funny use here. It's something like, it's literally comes to, but perhaps something like adheres to words that are, and does not adhere to well, sound or wholesome words or doctrine. So if someone teaches something different and does not adhere, literally come up to sound or wholesome doctrine, words, the doctrines which belong to or which are of our Lord Jesus Christ, so we'd say those of our Lord Jesus Christ, and to the teaching, so it's dative again after this pros ergotai, and to the teaching which is according to piety. So whoever does that, tet tu photai, has become, well, it's often rendered as conceited or proud. The Vulgate here has superbus est, which backs up that translation. It's literally he is beclouded, his mind is clouded. But the lexicons tell me here that in later Greek this meaning of proud or conceited appears in other writers, so I have to take it as that. But it's literally his mind is clouded, but it apparently means something like he is conceited and proud, knowing nothing but noson. Nosio is often used in a metaphorical sense, not diseased, but perhaps has an unhealthy interest in, with the peri, has an unhealthy interest in zetesis, disputations, logomachias, arguments with words, from which there is phthonos, envy, eris, strife. Again, we get no connectives here. Envy, strife, blasphemies, hyponoia, suspicions, evil things, ponerai, diaparatribai, and these are something, it's a very rare word, it's only here in the New Testament. It means contention or incessant wrangling. I couldn't get much more information on that one. It's something like wrangling or incessant wrangling, constant contention of men who are corrupted in respect of their mind, and those being deprived of the truth, and those considering piety, this is an interesting verse here, considering piety to be porismon. Again, it's only here once in the Septuagint. It means a way of making money, gainful trade. So those who think that piety to be a way of making money, and then this is almost parenthetical here, esti de porismos megas he sabea meti aut archaeas. But piety is a great way of making money, but with self-sufficiency or independence. Uden ga eis enenkamen eis ton cosmon hoti ude ex enenkain ti dunamatha. Very well known saying. So for we brought into the world nothing. Now the hoti here is variant readings here. Some later texts have alethes hoti. It is true that we might have to supply something like dailon hoti, which is a standard expression in earlier Greek. So it is clear that, clear understood that, neither are we able to take out, to carry out anything. This is from X and Pharaoh. So for we bring nothing, we have brought nothing into the world, and it is clear that we will not be able to take anything out. E contes de Diotrophas kai skepasmata tutois arches the somatha. Having Diotrophas, having sustenance, having sort of almost daily food, having sustenance and shelter. Skepasmata, shelters, literally it's plural, only here in biblical Greek, but it's come from that verb skepasdo, to cover something over. So having only, well, it's food and shelter, sustenance and shelters, we will be sufficient with these. We will be happy with these. Future passive here. We will be satisfied, perhaps, with these would be good. Hoide bulominoi plutein epi piptot tusin as parismon kai pagida kai. Go to the next page. But those wishing to be rich, to be wealthy, they fall into temptation and a pagis, a snare or a trap, and they fall into understood epithumias polas anoetus kai blaberas. They fall into many desires, into many, and then we get two adjectives here. We get three really. So many, foolish or senseless, and blabberous, harmful. And into many desires which are foolish. This is alpha privative plus the noetos root, and blabberous, harmful. The very ones which, here's that use of the hostis, so the very ones which bouthidzusi tus anthropus. Well, it's something like, it's a funny verb again. It means bouthidzo, connected with bouthos, depth. So it's to sink down, which cause men to sink into destruction and perdition, to try and use two different words for basically the same thing. These really are just synonyms, into destruction and destruction, so I'll say perdition. And then we get the next famous line, Rizdaga pantone ton kakon estin he phil aguria. For Ridza, now the subject is here, love of money is the root of all evils. Became a very famous saying, especially the Latin version in the Vulgate of this was often stated in later writers. It's in Chaucer, for example. So love of money is the root of all evil, of which, so this is agreeing back with the Philagoria, of which certain ones reaching out for them, so striving for them, aiming for them, reaching out from orego, they have been caused to wander from the faith, and perieperan, it's from a verb peripero, and it's to pierce, and this is just a compound verb. So they have it's only here in biblical Greek. So literally, they have pierced themselves with many pains. So for love of money is the root of all evils, of which certain ones striving or reaching out for them have been caused to wander from the faith, and have pierced themselves with many pains. And that is the first part of chapter 6.